You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Imagine being able to see every class with ease, regardless of your caseload size. Creating engaging lessons your kiddos will love. Having the ability and confidence to manage classroom behaviors. And having the know-how and tools to measure your lessons' effectiveness. If you're tired of feeling unprepared and overwhelmed and are ready to deliver amazing classroom counseling lessons, this is made for you. And if you follow the framework I'm teaching in this course, you will go from feeling stressed and overwhelmed to feeling confident and prepared as you learn how to schedule, plan, deliver, and assess your classroom counseling lessons. Head to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/class lessons to sign up right now. Thanks for listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. So as we're wrapping up our September series, we're continuing to chat about our class lessons. We've already talked about how to schedule your lessons, plan for your lessons, teach your lessons, manage behaviors during your lessons, and we're going to wrap it up with data. We're going to talk about how to measure the effectiveness of your counseling lessons. So a lot of the times, the counselors are using like self-assessments and behavior surveys in their small groups and in their individual counseling, which is fabulous, and I totally recommend starting there. But did you know that you can actually use data tracking tools in your class lessons? I know it seems a little overwhelming because we're talking about like 30 kids we're trying to track data on, but I'm going to share some really simple strategies you can use. I think you're going to love this. Now, this is a little sneak peek of Module 5 of my Stress-Free Class Lessons course. So Stress-Free Class Lessons is a 5-module framework where I show you how you can go from feeling stressed and overwhelmed to confident and prepared as you learn how to schedule, plan, deliver, and like I said today, assess your classroom counseling lessons. So in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing about measuring that effectiveness, talking about things like how to use previously collected data to determine lesson topics, how to collect instant student feedback data to check for understanding, how to survey parents and teachers to best serve students, and how to use data collection tools to determine what's working and what should be changed. So that's the module. It like deep dives into all of these things. Today, I'll be sharing a little peek of that. So if you're interested in the whole course, you can go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/class lessons to check it out. I also didn't mention this earlier this month, but if you join my Impact membership at the annual rate, you get this course for free. So this course is absolutely free when you join annual. So if you're thinking about joining Impact anyways, which I totally recommend, especially at the beginning of the school year, then you might as well get it at the annual rate because then you'll get your class lessons course included for free. Okay, well, let's dive into today's episode all about that data collection at the class lesson level. Welcome to Lesson 2. In this lesson, I'll be showing you how you can collect and track data during your classroom lessons without taking up too much time. Like I said, Lesson 2 is where I'm going to be showing you how to collect and track data in your counseling lessons. You're going to learn 2 ways you can collect data to assess the effectiveness of your classroom counseling lessons, when to get parent, teacher, and student feedback, how to send the parent-teacher surveys, and what to do once you have the data. So we've talked about previous data in Lesson 1. Now let's talk about new data. So you can collect new data by surveying parents and getting instant feedback from students. So I encourage you to survey parents and teachers throughout the school year. So not just once. Let's do this at the end of the month, end of the quarter, or end of the semester at a minimum. This way you can get feedback on how they think your class lessons are going. So I've created a survey template for you that you can check out, and I'm going to show you exactly how to use this. You're going to ask for general feedback as well as topics that they like and dislike, if they've noticed improvement since lessons have started, and if they understand why you're doing class lessons and what you're teaching. So you're going to have 2 different ones, the parent one and the teacher one. They're going to vary slightly, but these are awesome and you can get a lot of good feedback based on these surveys, especially if you send them out multiple times throughout the school year. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to use these lesson surveys. So you can survey teachers and parents. I'll start by showing you teachers, but then I'll show you the parent one as well. So a survey, this is going to be a little more informal than a needs assessment. Instead of asking like what needs they think we need to base our class lessons around, this way we're just trying to get some feedback on our lessons that we've taught so we can continue to improve them. So I recommend that you send these throughout the school year. Don't just send it once, send it maybe monthly, quarterly, at least once a semester. Again, you have a template for this in the resource library, so you can just make a copy and edit what you want, but we've got it started for you. or I'll show you here how to completely customize it so you can do whatever you want. So I have here, it just says, please complete the following questionnaire to provide feedback on your student's experience. So this is for the teachers. So I have questions like, I see improvement in my students' social emotional skills after the counseling lessons, yes or no? Or which lesson topic has been the most helpful? And then I just have listed 1, 2, or 3 here, but you would have your lesson topics listed here. So, self-control, bullying prevention, anger management, whichever ones you've already taught by the time you're sending this out, you want to put those there. Which one's been the least helpful? The scheduled lesson time still works for me. So this is a great question to include for teachers because, perhaps you schedule them a year in advance, which is great. We'd love to do that. But we want a heads up if that time's not working, then we can go in and reschedule it to fit their needs. That's better than just the no-shows or them canceling on us, right? And then I just have any other feedback for classroom counseling lessons. So again, I wanted to keep it 5 questions really short, so it's totally doable. Now, again, to send this out, you would just send. You're going to click the link button. I always like to shorten the URL and copy it. And you could send teachers an email, hey, please fill this out so I can get some feedback on my class lessons. And tell them it's 5 questions, because I feel like if you tell them how short it is, then you're more likely to get responses. Okay, so I'm going to, and again, on this one, you could add the teacher's name and email as a required field. That way you can, if you want to follow up with them later about their responses, you could do so. So that would probably be a helpful thing to add to this form. So I'm just going to answer some questions here just so we could see what the results look like. So we'll submit a few responses. I'll probably do it 3 times so we can see. And I love these questions. Most helpful, least helpful, and then the scheduled time works for them, yes or no. So you definitely do want to know who is submitting these so you can follow up, especially if they're answering the question about the scheduled time not working for them. Okay, so now when we go back to our screen, we'll see we have 3 responses. Click there. Okay, let's see what it says. I see improvement in my students' social emotional skills after the counseling lessons. 100% said yes. Boom, there's you some awesome data. Screenshot this graph or click copy and then post it somewhere on a data wall. Share it in a parent newsletter, share it with your admin. This is amazing. They're seeing improvement after the counseling lessons. This is amazing data to have, and it was so easy to get. Which lesson's been the most helpful? 2 people agreed on one topic and someone else liked another one. The least helpful, 2 people also thought the same was the least helpful. So this is really powerful. We now know maybe that wasn't a topic that we really needed. Only 2 people answered that one, and they were saying that the scheduled lesson still works for them, and they both said no, so we need to follow up with them. And then there was no feedback. So again, I love using these graphs. This is amazing data to showcase. And then you can always click the spreadsheet button there to create a new spreadsheet, and it will have your responses. And this one's great because the more people fill out your form, they'll automatically go on the spreadsheet. So you can just see the same data in a different way. If you're a spreadsheet person, you may love this. Now let me show you the parent lessons and how they're different. So we have here, it looks pretty much the same. We just changed it from your student to your child's experience. And the first question I have for the parents is, I understand what the classroom counseling lessons are. So some parents may have no clue what you're sending a survey on. They may not even know who you are as the counselor. They may not even know that their child is getting lessons. So that's why I like to include this question. And this will tell us, do we need to tell parents more, hey, this is what we offer. We're doing these class lessons each month. And how can you do that? Is this something you could put on your website, send out in a monthly newsletter? How can we get this information to parents? Because we want them to know about the services we're providing. So we'll have them answer that question. And then I see improvement in my child's social emotional skills after the counseling lessons. So, have they noticed an improvement in their child? Did their child, leading to the third question here, come home and say what they learned? In counseling today we did this. My child shares what they've learned in their counseling lessons. And then I have a feedback section as well. This one's only 4 questions, even shorter for the parents. So again, you could grab that link, send it to parents. The feedback you get from parents will probably vary, but any feedback is better than none, right? And then we can always follow up with the parents and find out how we can, tweak our lessons to better support their child. Okay, guys, I hope you found those surveys helpful. Again, you can snag the template and then customize it to fit your needs. So in addition to those parent-teacher surveys, you can get instant student feedback at the end of each lesson. This way you can check for understanding and measure effectiveness. So as you can see in the picture there, I have a quick assessment, just a half sheet with 3 questions where the kids can circle if they, understood what you taught in the lesson. So do they know what it means to be responsible? How can they be responsible at home and school? And do they know these strategies? So you can quickly assess these things. And then you might be thinking, well, I have all this data. Now what? Use the data that you collected to improve your future lessons and to show the power of your program. So this data is twofold. It can continually work for you. Like I said, you can use it to improve your future lessons. So if you get data back and you see no one really seemed to understand this lesson, that's good information to have, because now you can modify the lesson, and the next time you teach it, kids will hopefully understand it better. And then you can also use this data to show the power of your program. So share this info with stakeholders. Say, hey, look how awesome my counseling and lessons are. This does a few things. It lets you advocate for your role and your position as the school counselor. It lets you show the power of your program and the importance of having a school counseling program. And it lets you advocate for your time. So you're showing how these class lessons are a great use of your time and how your time needs to be spent preparing and teaching them rather than on non-counselor tasks. And all data is good data. So even if the data shows that the students didn't understand a concept, like I mentioned before, you can use this insight to revise your lesson. So there's no such thing as bad data. Even if you get it back and no one understood anything, that's not ideal, but it's good to know this so we can change it for next time. If we weren't collecting data, we would just do the same thing over and over again, even though it wasn't yielding results. I hope you loved lesson 2. You've learned 2 ways that you can collect data to assess the effectiveness of your classroom counseling lessons. Those 2 ways are through the parent-teacher surveys and through the instant student feedback. I showed you when to get the parent-teacher and student feedback, how to send those surveys, and then what to do once you've collected the data. Now I want you to take action. I want you to create a parent-teacher survey to send out so you can get the feedback on the effectiveness of your counseling lessons. So again, reference the template I have for you in the resource library, and you can always revisit the tech library to watch a tutorial of how to create your own. Now let's look at a lesson preview for our lesson 3. In the next lesson, you're going to learn 4 data collection tools to use during your classroom counseling lessons, the pros and cons between these tools, and how to quickly assess student understanding to measure the effectiveness of your lessons. Okay, I'll see you in lesson 3.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.